It's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to Cannabis Legalization News, where we explain marijuana laws so you can change them. Today, we're going to be talking about southern states legalizing: Texas, Louisiana, Alabama. We're also going to have Chey Garrigan from Alabama Cannabis Industry Association pop in and update us on HB2. But before that, let's introduce our hosts. Hey, Tom. Hey, Miggy.
Hey. What's going on? We're going to go through the South like Sherman. That is a first of many Civil War jokes on today's episode of Cannabis Legalization News. Miggy, I hope you had a good week. We got a lot of southern states to cover.
Yeah. Are we going to filibuster this one?
Let's filibuster it in a little bit. How many bills are going through Florida to legalize weed right now?
I think you said 9.
The actual answer is 7, but that's pretty awesome. So if you think that one of those 7 has a chance of making it, please like and subscribe. And we want to report on those types of bills as they go on. But I'm pretty sure that 6 of them ain't going to make it. Well, actually, probably all 7. And then this Friday, hopefully you guys can come out and see me this Friday in Indianapolis. I will be doing a few things. I'm probably going to be doing a talk regarding hemp and banking, which has gotten a little hairier now because of well, we'll see, because the vape ban is going to be going into effect, and it already is effective. I'll cover that. And then psychedelics and cannabinoid therapeutics. What does the future hold? Find out Friday? Yes, Friday at the CBD Midwest Expo. And we actually have a code for that one. Lauren, can we get that up so we tell people where to go?
That's going to be great, dude.
No, I'm not sure if she has that one.
I think it's CLN 2021.
Yep, the coupon code is CLN 2021, but I wanted to share the actual page. It's cbdexpo.net. So head on over to cbdexpo.net, and then coupon code is CLN 2021. Okay.
So let's work our way through the South. Louisiana.
Right. Louisiana. What's going on there?
Shout out to Brian Delta-8 for passing this along. Sorry if I killed your name. In Louisiana, they're very French influenced. Louisiana House Bill number 524 by Representative Nelson, legalized marijuana in Louisiana, ? Northshore lawmaker proposes bill to make it happen. That's reported in the local news. What was that? WWLTV.
Support for WWLTV. Northshore News.
Hey, I love the South. Support.
Well, then talk like you're from New Orleans. HB 524 would allow marijuana to be grown and sold in parishes that vote in favor of the bill. Fascinating. It's kind of like counties, dry counties, not dry counties. And then Nelson explained it's similar like the dry county concept for alcohol. Wow.
Which is how most of these guys get around things. And then they realize they like money, right? Because cannabis is not the end of the world. It's not the moral depravity that all people make you think. What do you get when you have illegal marijuana? You got domino stocks.
I get money.
That's it.
And so, every Chad that's out there, oh, what money? And then they have tax revenue and jobs and stuff. So the bill's author, State Representative Richard Nelson, is a Republican actually, and he's of Mandeville, and he said, I brought it because it was knocking on doors for my election in 2019, and it surprised me just how many people in my very conservative district supported cannabis legalization. Again, it's a bipartisan issue, so it's becoming bipartisan in Louisiana.
I hate the term conservative liberal. Personally, dude, it's just like the Democrat Republican. It's not a conservative liberal issue. It's a American issue. It's a progress for all of us issue. It's not a personal party issue.
Yeah, it's an American freedom issue. It's like an anti-Gestapo issue. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, you don't believe in fascists and just being arrested for nothing? Me too. Right? We should get together and form a more perfect union based on principles of freedom and limited government. And
we'll be united.
Yeah, we'll be united. Like little states all over the country. Yeah, and so we got one of those going on. And there's another bill to decriminalize marijuana was filed by State Representative Candace Newell of New Orleans. Of course, that's the more traditional pronunciation of New Orleans. So Tuesday, New Orleans City Council President Helena, which I'm sure is the more upscale pronunciation of Helen, Moreno filed a resolution backing that bill, which is great. So then they have a decrim bill and also a alcohol dry county style based legalization bill, HB 524. So vote yes on HB 524. Jim, call your representative and tell them to vote yes. HB 524.
I mean, this is only going to help Mardi Gras get more lit. Like if you're going to start bringing in tourism, this is going to help right there.
We should have a Mardi Gras member lounge unit. And like, shout out to all the members of our channel. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And Miggy, are you working on a new story?
I just posted one today, just for the general members. Just a little secret session I did, spontaneous. And it's, as we develop more into this, I will put out more. I just put out feelers and seeing how it works. Cool. Yeah, it's all good. So, do we want to move on to Alabama?
Let's try Alabama next, because Alabama is definitely somewhere in the South. They're going the opposite direction. So the Alabama Senate is going to consider an amendment to the potentially harmful to its hemp industry. It's trying to ban Delta-8 and Delta-10 and place them in the Alabama Controlled Substances list. So that would make shipping concerns for hemp operators all over trying to just make their Delta-8 hemp and ship it interstate.
So is this state trying to trump federal? I mean, technically.
Kind of, but then it would say like we're not necessarily saying that it's hemp. The state is saying that this chemical Delta-8 THC would then be listed as a controlled substance. Of course, then you have the legal argument that Delta-8 THC is by definition of the 2018 Farm Bill hemp, and this is the butting of the heads, and then these types of regulations that are coming, and they just aren't introduced in Alabama. You're seeing these all over.
I'm curious, like, what kind of industry exists there already as far as hemp and marijuana, and I think our guest can be a good.
Let's bring on Alabama cannabis activist. Chey, thanks so much for joining us on the show. Can you introduce yourself and tell the people what you're about?
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Chey Garrigan, and I am the president of the Alabama Cannabis Industry Association. So I represent the hemp industry in the state of Alabama.
So there is a business industry. It's not just like one guy with a smoke shop.
True. Yes, they're very sophisticated farmers, and it's pretty amazing the different types of guy. I always tell everybody, no one guy that I meet has or woman has the same technique as to what they're doing in processing and in farming. So everybody's different.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Where is there any medical cannabis laws that are circulating in the Alabama legislature, or can you give us an update on that as well?
Well, we do have legislation. It's SB 46 for medical marijuana. It's this will be the third year that it's been through both, that it's been considered in the House, but
wow,
we're waiting to see if it's going to, what's going to happen with that. So we do feel like there's going to be a favorable outcome.
What about this HB2? So what is HB2? We were just talking about that, right? That's the proposal to ban Delta-8 and Delta-10?
Yes. So that's that's going to dry out every one of the farmers. I mean, this is a way that they're making money in Alabama. They've been not able to market their products and sell any of their products. Like last year, it was smokable that they were limited on, and this year they've evolved into Delta-8, and they've been doing very well, and finally being able to actually get up out of the red. So this is really something that came out of nowhere. This Delta-8 bill attached to this synthetic opioid bill that they have.
Where's the fear mongering coming from? Where's the the reefer madness? Like, why? Because you have an industry out there apparently. So are your guys not paying the lobbyists enough? What's going on? Who's not getting paid enough?
Good question. Or are they getting paid too much to keep it going? So, because these things don't just pop up. You don't.
Right.
Delta-8 and Delta-10. It has to be somebody within the industry that knows exactly that these guys are making money. But the medical cannabis bill has gotten so much attention in the state of Alabama that you've got people that'll say that they've already got claim on licensing. And
wow.
So have you heard that before?
Every state does that.
Yeah, everybody is just so frickin' crooked, and it's about the patients. Fuck the patients. It's about the money. And then some people are coming in like that. You're like,
Well, it's quite fascinating because they feel like the more money that they paid, the more of a chance that they get at a license, and it's just quite.
Yeah. I mean, who introduced this bill, and did they have a fundraiser lately?
Oh,
good question.
It's Yes, and I probably don't need to answer that.
Oh, shit.
All right. Well, no, like, it's like Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida,
Not only a
is
fundraiser, but
It's Publix.
well, like, but
Publix.
then the Publix, right? Publix, right? So, like, you heard the Publix story about Ron DeSantis, and just like, well, I had a fundraiser. They gave you tens of thousands of dollars. They're a supporter.
I'm not bad.
Right. And so when cannabis licenses are handed out with the same type of zeal as COVID vaccines to Publix, the pay to play aspect that GTI is being investigated by the federal government right now and the FBI for doing doesn't really seem all that off base. Where did they learn that from? They learned it from you, legislature, that is taking their money and making their laws. They learned it from you. Where did you guys get the corruption? We got it from you, Senator whomever.
Right. 100%.
it's pretty savvy. So one of the things about this bill is that the people that they believe that they're going to be getting the 4 licensing, they're not reading it correctly, where it actually is saying that's just the limit. So which I've heard you speak on some of your previous shows, that number 4 seems to be the magic number in a lot of different states. So they've put the cap on 4 licensing, and that doesn't mean that those 4. Yes, 4.
How many people live in the great state of Alabama? And then what is the great state of Alabama's thing? Like, is it the Mobile state? I highly doubt that's it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's like 4.9 million. So the
so
population.
1 million people per one grower. I like it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. The dollar sign is just coming in. Wow.
About the patience.
Of course, when you read some of these bills, there's always a twist in there. So what they've said is they put a cap on 4 of them, but they're not saying that, hey, we're going to designate these 4 to these guys. They're saying we're going to turn this over to the commission, to the Medical Cannabis Commission, and they're going to be the one that chooses at least 4 growers, or at least 4 vertically integrated systems that they're going to hand out licensing for. So, and those commissioners are going to be chosen by the governor or the lieutenant governor. It's modeled after a lot of what Delaware is doing. And so, when you read a little deep into the bill, it's not saying that anybody is guaranteed 4 licensing. So it's just at this point, the guys that feel like they paid the most amount of money is they're going to get a shot at it. But
unfortunately, that might work because, just like Tom was talking about CTI or GTI, if you look at when that board happens, when that board finally occurs, like if this passes and everything, and then who the governor selects, right? Like these 4 people, kind of like buying an ambassadorship. Like these assholes got money, they can buy their way into a position, and now they're in a bigger position to influence. They're kingmakers. It's what it becomes when you have 4 shops for fucking 4 million people. Holy crap.
And I'll say this, in Alabama, it's when these guys kick up a fuss, it's not really that they oppose anything. I feel like it's more of like they're putting on an audition. So there's because they will have to put people on that commission. They will have to choose and put this, form a medical cannabis commission. And that is actually one of the most important things of this bill, because there's certain people that, like, growers need to be included. There's different issues that I have. Processors need to be included. Right now they have it staffed with just doctors, and if the doctors don't have a viable product that's healthy to be released to the public,
doctors don't know shit about growing weed.
Politicians
doctors don't know shit about weed usually, because they've been told not to learn anything about it or not to prescribe it at all. Trying to find doctors that would give me a recommendation to get my medical card in Illinois in 2018 or 17 when I got it still took a few months of trying to find that doctor. God only knows how difficult it would be to try to get your card in Alabama if they passed the law.
You could be issued a card in Mobile and have to drive all the way up to Huntsville to get your medication. So it's there's those different things that are in there that I do intend to see straighten up the more attention that we can get on what's going on. And but just trying to get this bill passed, the main thing is getting this commission set up correctly. The doctors and so on, for some reason, Alabama believes that there's a monopoly that can be formed if you put people in there that have a vested interest in the industry. Well, in the hemp industry, the medical cannabis industry, the cannabis industry, what have you, it's actually a good indicator. If one person is doing well, that is a good indicator of how well the entire industry is doing. Because we don't have people one guy's not blowing it out of the park, processing, as compared to somebody else down the street that's struggling. And there's each one of these guys have, like I said, different techniques, but they're all into, if they're growing, if a grower is doing very well, then that's a good indication that all of the growers are doing well. So when you have a vested interest in what you're doing, you want to see the industry be successful.
Yeah, the vested interest is also known as money, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, if these guys are doing well, and as an activist, I'm all about, like, first off, no jail. Like, that's number one. Number two is, like, fucking make money. Like, should be a thing as an American, as a person who's, this is your entitlement to make a living and support your family. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Chey, is what is the final, like, so, like, yeah, these guys are setting themselves up for, like, I own Alabama this week. But when the national thing happens, it's going to be huge. And Tom's talked about before, where these guys are setting themselves up for failure because I want to own this state. That's small thinking compared to, like, what's going to happen on a national thing, though. What kind of dates? Because even if it does happen, and say these guys do own the market for the controlled amount of time until it's national, and then NFL, what dates can they do to legalize it now? Like, what's going on? What can people do to help you?
Well, to help me, raising awareness. So raising awareness as to what actually is going on in your state government, and what's going on with your representative and your senator. Now, I'm talking about in Alabama, and what I try to tell people is that you have to get in touch with your representative. And I actually with my members, I make sure that they know who their representative is. And I've got some very savvy, very great members that know actually how to address their representatives. And I tell them, I said, they are going to frame their opinion on cannabis due to the feedback that they receive from their constituents. So it's important for them to really get involved, because the main thing is these guys want to stay in office. We want them to stay in office. We also want people to be engaged and to let them know that they do not agree with the amendment for Delta-8, and they can say why if they would like, but they just don't agree. And they can tell these guys, because they are elected officials. They are elected into office, and if they can be elected in, then they can, there's an opponent, somebody can run against them and, get them out of there. So, and we are sitting on the eve of an election year. We have a lot of these guys are facing re-election. And, they're going to be running campaigns. There's, Alabama's wonderful when it comes to politics.
I bet they say all sorts of garbage. But, they want to get elected. And I hope that people get in touch with you. And thanks so much for stopping on. But it's 20 past the hour, which means that it's 4:20 somewhere.
Oh, check out bamacannabis.org.
Sorry, what was it called? bamacannabis.org?
bamacannabis.org. Yes.
Go check that out right now. All right. Moving on to Texas. I wasn't doing anything.
This week, there are 3 hearings scheduled to address cannabis policy in Texas. Tuesday, April 6th at 1 p.m., the Criminal Jurisprudence Committee will meet to consider a number of marijuana bills which aim to reduce penalties for possession. Hopefully, these aren't more bills that die in committee. On Wednesday, April 7th at 8 a.m., the House Public Health Committee will meet to consider HB 1535, which is authored by the committee chairwoman Click. HB 1535, which would add cancer, chronic pain, and PTSD for veterans while allowing the Department of State Health Services to add new qualifying conditions through their administrative rulemaking process. Nice. That's a good one.
That's a good one. But then what about THC? Because so far, like Texas, to the extent that it does have a medical cannabis program, has an exceedingly restricted or maybe CBD oil only program. But I wasn't even sure that Texas had medical cannabis.
Well, this is what we get. We get a lot of pings, a lot of people asking us about Texas, right? Like, this is a big state with big issues that, unfortunately, you have people who want to go on a Caribbean cruise when you're going through a horrible freeze at home.
They don't.
These are the people who are leading you, protecting you. We want to be off your power grid. because we don't want to be the rest of the United States. But yet, when we're having a fucked up situation as a governor, I'm going to blame everybody else. Like each one, the senators, all these leaderships for Texas, unfortunately, hopefully, fingers crossed for you guys, man. But yeah. No, this is a.
What is this THC cap of 5% that they have? And with that, because like the THC caps of 5%, like is that going to be a 5% solution? So like it's 95% not THC and 5% THC, because we're talking about 100 grams. That's a lot of THC.
Well, this says it raises the cap to 5%. So what's the before cap? Like what were you allowed now?
See, that's one of the things where we should have the, because I was under the impression that Texas doesn't have medical cannabis, but if they do have medical cannabis, it would be like a really lame, basically they have hemp. That's what I kind of recall of Texas from way back in the day when I reviewed it and I said, well, there's nothing going on here. And then the update is this HB 1535. And so they're going to raise the cap to 5% and create institutional review boards to research and track medical cannabis. And they might go ahead, man.
Well, I'm just saying, I know Texas probably has just as shitty regulations as New York does when it comes to the medical program, right? Like all the ground flower thing. That's just weird. Like, why do you make these rules up?
20-1. Like it was a blend. Like you can't get just weed medical in New York. You have to get ground weed with some CBD in it. So it's 21 blend.
Yeah, the ignorance is frustrating. So, with this, but what Texas has already, because I have a friend out there in El Paso who does work at a dispensary, and so I just didn't really look at their quality of cannabis. Like you said, it's all hemp. It's all
right.
They might as well just be all Delta-8 products and all CBDs. Like what the F, man?
Yeah, it's so strange. And then there's also going to be HB 3948 in Texas, and that's to establish a hemp research program to address consumable hemp products and clean up language in the statute. So can you consume hemp? That's always one of those tough, difficult regulations. If FDA regulations say you're not allowed to have CBD or like consume that as a food, but everybody does.
What is this bullshit? Like we're gonna like look at this issue on April 8th about an issue that's already federally legal. Like what kind of, there's already a federal perspective on this. Why do you gotta be so difficult, Texas? Why do you gotta be that one kid has to make up their own fucking shit? Like, just
I don't know. But the other problem with like these, because I think it's a THC oil, like a very low concentrated THC oil for whatever medical Texas is for their cannabis program, if they have one.
Yeah,
but that robs the terps, because you don't have that. Then you don't have the buds, and then that ground stuff in New York State where you have to buy ground flower if you're going to get that. And it needs to be a 20-1 blend. That also robs the terps, which means we should probably play something about terps.
Yep. Name that strain.
In today's Name That Strain, we have that strain right there. For those of you watching this at home on their radios, you should probably not be doing so many mushrooms because this is an audio program. You can't watch it. But it's a very green nugget, which has got some golf ball-esque size shaping to its bud structure. Iggy, how would you describe the shaping on that bud structure?
That's a nice cola. It came from a nice cola, like a nice long cola. It came from at one point. Like you could tell, and I would say yes, hand trimmed. No, you don't.
I do not know if it is hand trimmed. I can't remember. Who sent me this one? Somebody sent that to me in my DMs.
To Corbin Caleb on Instagram.
Shout him out again.
Corbin Caleb.
Thanks, dude. And so Bugger Off guessed it in 4.2 seconds. Green crack. What is the etymology of the word green crack and that strain? If we have time to play Name That Strain, we should do at least a little bit of background content regarding the green crack strain and its name origin.
That this green crack has like a fluorescent hue. I wonder if that's a big giveaway because we got a lot of people hitting green crack right automatically. Like that's, again, y'all scared the fuck out of me. Like I'm not a weed snob like that, but
oh my gosh, they were so fast on it too. It was just like green crack. I mean, like we had shown the cannabis for all of 4 seconds, and they were right on top of it. And we'll get rid of it. But so the strain was reportedly named Kush by its original breeder, Cecil C., then renamed Green Crack by Snoop Dogg to refer to what the rapper and cannabis activist perceived as potent sativa-like effects.
Interesting. So Snoop's the one that gave it that name. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So there you go. We played Name That Strain, and you learned something today, whether you wanted to or not, because you tuned in to Cannabis Legalization News. And thank you so much for doing so. Hopefully you clicked like and maybe also the subscribe button. What's the next state?
What we got going on here? South Carolina. Yeah. From Ganjapreneur, sponsor of South Carolina medical cannabis bill, says reforms are close. The sponsor of South Carolina's medical cannabis legislation believes the reforms will pass this session after the bill passed the Senate Medical Affairs Committee last week by a 9-5 margin. Is South Carolina next to Virginia? I forget.
South Carolina is definitely south of North Carolina. There is no Carolina. There's only a north and a south.
Right.
So just like there's no Dakota. It's just
Well,
north
and then
south.
this one has a Republican involved. Senator Tom Davis, Republican, said he plans to meet personally with every senator that remains opposed in order to build support for the reforms. Like, who's opposed? Again,
Well, I don't know, but like I hope that people are paying attention, because if somebody's on board for this and somebody wants that medicine to get to the patients, and good for them, I'm glad that they're making it about the right priorities as opposed to just somebody's going to get it. But Davis said we cannot wait any longer for these people that have their suffering alleviated. It is immoral. They are howling in pain, and we deny them something that their doctor wants to give them because of some political reason back in 1971 that President Rick Nixon wanted to stick it to a bunch of hippies. I like that.
it's a true story. I mean, that's
True story. We've done stuff on that, like where we literally have done great moments in, well, not great, notorious moments in weed history where like we use historical stuff. You guys don't really fancy that. That's why we switched to more news. News works better in history. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were all just kind of watching history happen. I think it's kind of what's going on, especially the fact that a Republican stood for it, in this state. I think they're saying because, South is right under North, right, which is right below Virginia. Like I was saying, this is a chain of effect of money. I don't know if it's so much about patients and people caring about like personal well-being, whereas, oh shit, we better get on board because up there is going to have the tourist industry that we can't support because Virginia's going to go by June. Their plan is to go right before summer. This is not coincidence, man. This is not
Virginia Beach.
telling you, dog.
But and so is New York. So New York's legal cannabis market can only really go up, considering the only thing you can buy is ground 20-to-1 flower. And then it would just say like indica sativa. It had like nothing behind it didn't say green crack, for example, and you didn't know that it was called Kush originally by Cecil, and then Snoop Dogg said, you know what, we should call this green crack.
It's just weird how things catch viral, though. I mean, in an etymology of a strain, like I said, what we talked about yesterday, you can call it monkey butt, and people still smoke it.
Especially
as long as it's good. Exactly.
But the bill contains just 5 qualifying conditions: cancer, MS, glaucoma, sickle cell anemia, and autism.
Nice.
So, it's pretty interesting. And he also indicated that he removed the smoking provisions of the original bill, which now only allows the use of oils. So it's another one of these oil style states.
Yeah.
Like Iowa and Texas, to the extent that they have medical cannabis, might have one of these medical cannabis oil style things, which is just really difficult and like basically only CBD oil. So that's it's movement out of South Carolina.
Well, there's still more. We have the South Carolina bill, though medical marijuana are likely to be defeated without debate, according to WPDE. And this could be just the ignorant side, right? The reefer madness people. South Carolina's medical marijuana legalization bill is likely to defeat without getting a debate in the state Senate. Despite the discussion being scheduled for Tuesday, opposition to the proposal among lawmakers is becoming increasingly clear, with Senator Greg Hembry, FU from Myrtle Beach, announcing he intends to block the debate from even starting. See, this is how they avoid having a stance, right? Like, first it goes states' rights. We're going to let the states decide. And then if you're in the state, you're like, you know what? We're not even going to let you have a hearing. We're not even going to let you. I'm not going to let you know that I don't want this. Like, you're afraid to say no, but you're willing to block a bill, which tells me no automatically.
Right.
It just kills me politically.
Yeah. But then, like, you could see how our reporting from the South is that it is not the most progressive style of cannabis regulation that we were seeing last week on the East Coast, which appears to be a substantially better and more open regulation that's forthcoming in that area. So, there's more.
Listen to these words, though. This came from a grown man. Hembry said he's concerned that medical marijuana has not been approved by the FDA and that the bill is a gateway effort to legalize. Like the fact that it's not FDA approved is because all the studies, and that's just an ignorant statement too. Like, let me just lead you on with some more bullshit. Right. Just lead you on that we need more studies. It's not federally legal.
Oh gosh, like that is one of the problems with the whole we need more studies. It's like, well, we did just give out a lot of vaccines that we studied for a few minutes, and now we're all dependent on them. You can do conclusive research studies in a truncated fashion if you wanted to, and then point out the fact of all the studies before that. Like there was this study by LaGuardia in the 40s that said that, yeah, you don't need to. And then there was that study by Schaefer in the 70s. And he said, no, you really don't need to. And then meanwhile, there was scientific studies in Israel where they're like, oh, here it is. This is how it works. This is why it works.
And it doesn't do the bad shit. Israel proved nothing. Like when Raphael Mecklin discovered the THC component, you know how he experimented with his family, his friends. On human, he actually did a human experiment because they weren't cannabis consumers. He made brownies and had a party, and then he noted everybody's reaction. Like some people were giggling, some people were a little anxiety, some people didn't feel nothing at all. And in the end, he's like, "This is what cannabis does." And he had a party, like you don't go like, hey, we're gonna do a heroin party. Let's see how everybody fucking reacts. Like you don't do that kind of shit. But with weed, he felt.
Well, maybe we need to reevaluate about how good of a scientist this guy is. Then that's his level of research. Hopefully, the endocannabinoid system is actually real. And so, I mean,
he when he found the THC component, because he had to go through so many loopholes. That's the thing. In the early days, I was watching The Scientist, which is on YouTube. It's a documentary on him and his experiments. And when he first acquired the cannabis from the police, because he got it from the police department first, and the first time they just gave it to him, and then they called him up the second time, was like, look, you didn't sign the approved documents. And it was like, oh, I'm just a wild scientist old guy that can just do what the fuck he wants. I'll sign those papers. Yes, sir. Thank you. Those were the hurdles that he has to go through in Israel, right? There's no jail time, no threatening of taking his license, no. That stigma gave him an effort just to blindly check this plant and prove that it's non-toxic.
And then how to discover it, the endocannabinoid system. And then they've synthesized synthetic cannabinoids and discovered new ones like HU. So like whenever you see a cannabinoid that starts with HU dash some numbers, like HU-1152, I think is one of them. And it's one of those ones that you'll read about that's like substantially stronger than Delta-8 THC. Those ones, like HU stands for Hebrew University. So they probably came out of his lab. And that type of research it was impossible to do that research. And so like the studies, you mean the ones that were already done in Israel because it was impossible to do in America. So there's those three studies that we always need to remember whenever anybody gives you this line of shit, and it is a line of shit, that they need more time for studies.
And it's a fact, the studies that he started when he first discovered THC led to the endamite system, which is proven with the endocannabinoids. The endamites it's part of your body. It's like discovering white blood cells, for God's sakes. Like
it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, the anandamide and the CB1 receptors, and then how that regulation can do a lot of interesting stuff with your body. And so those types of studies, let's do those. Let's actually do the research that they're talking about, because it's not gonna do anything except for like advance our society and our quality of life. But you see this types of stuff. And then, like, did you hear that Marine vet condemning marijuana?
Oh, yeah, this knucklehead.
The guy from Kentucky. Now, this one sounds like clickbait. This guy has to be just, like, I don't believe it. This is just so stupid that this guy can't be a real person.
I thought, too, and I scrolled through this guy's profile. Luckily, he doesn't have a blue hash mark, but he is respected and viewed upon conservative people, whatever the fuck that means, like the Newsmax crowd, the Fox News crowd. Again, I hate using the word conservative, because when I hear conservative
news out of Kentucky, then, right? So we're going to talk about Kentucky marijuana news.
Yeah.
Like, where did he smoke this weed? He says he smoked it in Kentucky.
Dude, I bet you that shit was so good. So, like, the gentleman says smoking weed, aka grass, is not a good idea. I tried it back in the day, and it was worse than anything ever happened to Hunter Biden. I toked up with some buddies in Kentucky and woke up 4 days later in Nairobi, Kenya, with no idea
how
what
with no idea what happened. Don't do drugs. And so like that's the full tweet. But I love how he makes sure to say Nairobi, comma, Kenya. Oh, good. I thought he was in Pennsylvania for a second, you know?
But you know, this
he did the weed in Kentucky, and then maybe he went over the border to Pennsylvania to like find a casino, and then there was Nairobi.
Dude, his ignorant racist ass probably just woke up in like a bad neighborhood somewhere, like just like in Alabama deep. Like that's all it was. It was not even like a different country. Like you're telling me you used your passport. Well, like this, like I smoke a joint, dude. I'm good. Like after 3-4 hours, right? The effects or whatever. Like I'm just like not there, whatever.
Well, you could be. It depends on the type of joint, also. But yes, you know, you could be enjoying the view.
But say one joint, and then you like mentally were aware of like getting behind the car, driving to the fucking airport, checking in the airport, your vehicle, whatever, buying the $1,000 ticket probably or whatever the fuck. Round trip, because you got to come back eventually.
Sleeping. So like, wait, and he said 4 days.
Seriously, sleeping 4 days.
4 days.
Yo, I'm just saying, man, my man had some asses, what it was. But let's talk about Michigan.
It sounds like somebody laced him something and said it was a joint. Like, have you ever been like, here it's a joint, and somebody's using that as a method of slipping you drugs? That's exactly what happened. And so that's another reason we need regulation, because if that joint was in like a sealed glass container, regulated, you knew that it was a joint, and then that shit would never have happened.
And that's the important argument with safe access, right? If everybody knew what they were buying at a store, everybody had an actual perception of what real marijuana is, like the entourage effect is a real thing, opposed to like just getting grounded up 20-to-1 CBD bullshit or whatever the 5% cap limit Texas thinks they're going to do. The real medicine, the real truth is the entourage, the whole plant, the natural existence of it, just letting it grow, taking care of it. It becomes a thing. And sometimes it's everything you need, and sometimes it's just not all the thing, because it's always different how you grow this amazing plant.
Yep, really depends on what you're going for. So that has to I still don't think that Greg Kelly guy is a person, or if that was an honest tweet for him, I just don't understand reality anymore. So Michigan County declares it won't prosecute people for psychedelics and weed possession.
Nice. An Ann Arbor area county prosecutor said his office will stop prosecuting anyone caught with literally any quantity of cannabis or natural psychedelics. And this is why I moved to Seattle, because the DEA said the same thing, but just with cannabis. But I think it'd be cool with mushrooms now at this point. But
well, yeah, just make sure we clean that up then and put that in there. And mushrooms. Okay. Don't forget, make it regulated. That would be hilarious if it was just a well-regulated mushroom market shall be legal. There's one sentence like that. What does that even mean? Yeah.
It's another wellness issue, though. I mean, because it treats, again, we're so focused on this recreational versus wellness medicinal issue when, like, in the 1930s in America, we actually had nitrous oxide parties before they discovered what nitrous oxide did. People would join together and just inhale this shit and laugh all day because it was a new thing that was experimented or discovered, like we as human beings and Americans fundamentally like to have a good time, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's why
it's right there in our founding documents somewhere. It's and the pursuit of happiness. Right on. We're set. We're putting that one in. We're putting that one in. And the pursuit of happiness. Bang.
That's damn right, dude.
Here. Yeah.
It's in our rule book. And so like I forget where I was going with that, but
that's why people want to be us. And by people, I mean other countries. But okay, so that's cool. That's Ann Arbor. That's coming out of Michigan, it sounds like. And Michigan is liberalizing, or at least one city in Michigan out of Mary Jane magazine reporting that is liberalizing the, I guess I could share.
Oh, that's right. That's what I was going with. It's just the fact that we like to party. Like I was just reading right here that I'm huffing balloons. No, I got brain damage just from being an American. It's cool, man.
Criminalization of ethnogenic plants simply doesn't make sense. They're not addictive. They don't cause violent behavior, and other jurisdictions have successfully decriminalized them without any negative consequences. But, does that raise the question of should you now regulate the consumption or the retail sale of these cyclobin substances to ensure safe access. And so, like with safe access, is it unfettered access without any regulation, without any education? Now you can grow your own weed. Evidently, I hear making your own mushrooms is even easier.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, we got to also talk about when we say like, okay, we're going to legalize this, legalize that, and then we talk about we're going to have a regulated market. Like we have to reevaluate the word regulated, because most people have a perception of like this proper checks and balances, but really regulation just comes down to the control of business, right? Like, okay, this, like, how do we regulate broccoli? How do we regulate tomatoes? How do we regulate? Because that's what we need to look at. That's the words in mind that you have to think about when you say regulation. You have to think about food products, not just alcohol. Like the syntax bullshit. Cannabis is not that. And then again, our ignorance
can be like cannabis can alter your mind and your perceptions and your experiences, and it can also be useful for palliative care or for whatever particular experience that you're trying to go after. I think safe access also means like no bad trips or like no bad usage. And so, so that safe access would be somebody counseling you on your first usage of, I don't care if it's cannabis, I don't care if it's psilocybin, but somebody should help you understand dosing so that you're not going to get out there and have a bad experience and be put in an uncomfortable position until maybe you're ready for that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're familiar right now. Like right now, ayahuasca is a big thing where there's actually like, lack of a better word, shamans, people out there who give people their first trip and experience and stuff like that. You know, the ayahuasca phase, in Kentucky, ayahuasca is legal. There are actually ayahuasca retreats where people clearing out rehab. So our perception of drugs overall is just shitty. Like that's the thing that we need to figure out and give proper perception on, because then we can actually fight real crimes. You know, it's about treatments. It's not about jail. You know, it's about, you know, treating the addictions or treating the person, not the incarceration aspect of it. And that's why legalization is so important for all things, you know, for the markets and, you know, for us. But I'm just rambling now, dude.
Well, like we have our society it's gotten a lot better. Our society is a lot more tolerant now than it was 100 years ago. A lot more tolerant and a lot more inclusive. And so I think that just the rules from 80, 90 years ago, and the cannabis laws are a great example, have a lot more of that moral judgment. Like, we don't like you because you're bad, as opposed to what you are doing is not safe for you because you are trying to use heroin. And so that type of regulatory access for safe access is important.
Yeah, well, and I think it goes along because we look at Oregon. Oregon just did the decrim overall, right? And we have the people who, like that guy in Twitter, the ex-Marine who, again, using his like, where were you, Marine? Could have been a clerk. Were you actually fight? I don't know, but people hear that word and they think, okay, veteran, he must be knowledgeable or something special. But for the most part, you're apparently an idiot douche, because in Oregon, you know how they just decrimmed all the drugs. This can go both ways, because Oregon Northwest has always had a heavy, I want to say, like, bohemian population, people who just like essentially homeless, but they live like that. And cause does not affect. Legalization of drugs does not cause this homelessness. What causes all this mental health, I believe, is what the issue is more than anything else. And also our tendency to put people in recidivism, right? You get in trouble.
Recidivism.
Yeah, recidivism. Say that 10 times.
It's a difficult word.
But you know what I mean, goddammit.
It's one of those ones that you have to do like warm-up exercises to do, like unique New York.
Yes.
What are you doing? I am preparing to say the word recidivism. Oh, that's hard. Hey, man, have you heard the good news out of New York? New York City. Cops say that you can smoke weed in New York City. So like NYPD cops give new order to let people smoke weed in public. Meanwhile, cops on the force will still not be allowed to toke up themselves. Oh, double standards. But hey, pretty interesting.
Well,
Public
that's just
consumption is legal in New York. Go ahead, man.
Oh, I was gonna say, when Canada legalized, it was cool to see a lot of those, where tobacco smoke was allowed. They'd see they even put a pot leaf on there for whatever. You're like, whoa, I'm in the future. And then the fact that, like we talked about before, this is in New York, the prohibition has been low-hanging fruit for crime. especially against minority communities or
Well,
poor
hey.
people, period.
Totes, I tell you, one of the things that we should talk about after that mention about how they're trivializing and marginalizing the have-nots. Let's go to the stocks. Let's do a stocks report.
What stocks?
Nope. In pot stocks, this is out of Atlanta. So it's some Georgia news. Parallel officially enters Illinois with $155 million Windy City cannabis acquisition. And so Parallel used to be called something else. I'm not sure what it used to be before Parallel. This is the billionaire Wrigley Gum people. And so now they're called Parallel. They bought 6 dispensary licenses in Illinois for, I believe it just says Windy City. Where's the number of them? Complex ownership agreements, grassroots. I think there it is. The potential $155 million purchase price for 3 medical dispensaries and 3+1s in recreational. And so 6 dispensaries, $155 million, social equity for a price.
This is the kind of shit that makes me up, Chuck. Like, honestly, like you hear about like some big firm, whatever, buying 6-4 licenses. You don't need that. You don't need that. What needs to be done is 1 license per person to run as a fucking individual business, and that way you can have the option to fail or not, succeed or fail. It shouldn't be the McDonald's of weed. Not yet. We're not there yet. Like you said before, once we go national, this shit's going to collapse and bite all these people in the ass.
It very well could. I mean, like if marijuana and hemp are the same, think about that. USDA rule for cannabis, for THC. If that's a thing, that's going to be 10 years away. Why the heck would you have that type of valuation? I realize why you would have premium indoor and like what the Jungle Boys are doing. And then Revolution Cannabis makes some delicious premium indoor product in Illinois. And hopefully you have some, Washington Bud Company probably makes some delicious weed.
Yeah.
But those are smaller companies than 155 million for 6 retail locations.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous the problem is like with these companies that you just talked about, Washington Bud Co., the Jungle Boys, all these people, you can still point to one person, right? I can't point to one person to these new shops. Just this morning, I went to that event I was telling you about, and all it was a meet and greet with the store owners in one, and then the growers would come and like a tech type meet and greet. And I happened to see Sean Kemp there, because he has a pot shop out here. And it was anticlimactic for me to see this guy who, well-to-do. You've made history, done this, but he only owns like 5% of that company that has his name and everything on it, which kind of breaks my heart in this whole position of like, it's like false narratives. It's all this false, there should be one person who came up. There should be like the grows. I always think the growers, the farms, or the superstars of the cannabis industry, they should be the ones that we should highlight and be fanboys of anyways. But it's still people believe January 6th was a hippie event. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We got a lot of dumb shit we got to go against still, man.
A lot of bad stuff too, as well. A lot of bad stuff.
Well, like even in the legal state of Oklahoma, there's the family of a OKC marijuana grow owner charged in death of alleged intruder fights for his freedom. Yeah. So this guy had a legal grow. The wife of a man jailed for fatally shooting an alleged burglar spoke out on Tuesday for the first time since her husband's arrest. LaRue Brotcher was charged with first-degree murder for the shooting of their southeast Oklahoma City marijuana grow shop. Brotcher's wife wants the public to know her husband is an Army veteran and a father of 5, not a cold-blooded murder or a threat to the community. I'm just praying for him to come home, said Vicky Brotcher, LaRue's wife. I can't see the rest of my life without him. And this is the shit, man. This is, if it was a snippet in Oklahoma magazine, very few, this is the kind of shit we got to keep talking about. Let people know, hey, if you want to get involved, look up this man's name, look up his wife's name, look up, well, watch out for the scammers, watch out for the GoFundMe.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that does suck with the scam artists that are out there. But then it also is, I like that the industry's out there, but then, the industry could also be an attractive nuisance. So you can get bad fact patterns like that can pop up. And so that's not cool. And then some people were dying in jail after a minor pot arrest in Texas. You see that?
That was we reported last month about the arrest of Marvin Scott III. While police were responding to having a mental health emergency, they found less than 2 ounces of cannabis on him. Instead of taking him to the mental health facility, they took him to jail. Hours later, he died.
So because he's arrested for weed, he doesn't get access to, and then did they not recognize that, he could have been self-medicating with the cannabis or just been a human that enjoys it. And then if he's presenting some type of mental illness, did they recognize that? Is that something they could have referred to? Did it have to just be like, hey, let's arrest him, and then he later dies in prison?
Well, like you said, though, the human factor, though, because all of a sudden they see weed, they see crime, they see they see something else than just a man, woman, person, like Sandra Blaine, who got pulled over. It was a traffic stop, and she died behind bars. And then later on, the reports, because she had cannabis or something. This is the bullshit that we're constantly going against, and then this is why people say Black Lives Matter and people say defund the police, because this is the shit that we need to reallocate and reevaluate how we look at crime and things. The bad people. There are real bad people out there to get. God damn it!
There's crazy people. There's bad people. There's all sorts of people. And so by just recognizing what's going on helps. And recognizing somebody as having a substance doesn't mean that we should be shunting them into the criminal justice wing as much as, pushing them to other services. But a little bit of international news to round up the show.
Do it.
Cool.
Where are we going?
Where are we going? Where do you think? Same place we always go when we're trying to legalize weed internationally. Mexico. Still in the process of legalizing weed, despite us reporting on it that legalized weed like 5 times. I'm not even kidding. Marijuana Moment is reporting that the legalization bill clears a key Senate committee with a floor vote expected this month.
So Mexico's process is just as sexy as America's. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Yeah, it does appear so. But then it's one of those things where it's just taken forever. And then we keep reporting on it. And then you're like, well, where is it? Is it done yet? No. Is it done yet? No. Well, when has Mexico legalized it? Well, they already have. Is it official? No.
I do have to say,
it's like Chuck Schumer in the Senate. Yes. It's like, well, where is it? Well, we're doing it.
Well, I was going to say, though, New York did beat Mexico, because I thought New York was going to be America's Mexico for the longest time.
Yeah, no. New York was like, okay. And now they're smoking doobies in New York City while Mexico's still referring this to committee in the Senate,
Yeah, man. You can't predict half the shit that's been happening, like with this whole process.
You can't predict nothing. And that's another reason why you should buy Cresco stock. It can only go up or down. Anyway, I mean, like, nobody's really going to know until after we get there. So you can buy it or not.
I think GameStops are more reliable than goddamn Cresco.
Did you see that GameStop actually used its ability to like go to the share window and sell at a hugely inflated price? It was able to like wipe out its debt.
They did the smart move. They're like, we're going to take this moment and try and have a second life, man. Like they're going to focus on the online aspect.
That's the thing. And so like if you have the access to the capital window, and then you have a game that people love like GameStop, and that GameStop owns like, let's say it was $100 million in debt, something like that. So they raise $100 million by offering more stock. They can just pay off the debt. Free company.
Yeah. No,
presuming they have cash flows. I have not looked at GameStop's statement of cash flows. I should, to see if if they don't have any debt now, it's just all free money, right?
Yeah, they're positive now. And then I just think it's cool to watch all the stuff going on. But yeah, fucking prohibition, brother. We'll be here for a while unless I get shot by a cop.
No. You hang out with those good ones,
Yeah, that was cool, man. So it was so surreal. I walked out of that marijuana event and I see the cop outside doing something copy, and I'm like, cool. Like there was no stress about the cannabis that was inside the building or the people that were doing business transactioning. or the fact that I was waiting on the bus stop and lit up a bowl. And that's what the opportunity that I'm always trying to say is like America overall should be like that, right? Cannabis should be the crime, just like too much broccoli, too much iron.
Yeah, but too much broccoli makes you fart.
Well, it makes you have green shits.
I can't say that about too much weed. Too much weed might make you sleepy.
Yes, I'm going to kill a pizza.
All right, I think that's going to do it for cannabis legalization news out on Green Poop. We want to shout out new members Care Bear Cannon and John Allen, and donation makers Sonic Strains and Yes Baked. Thanks for throwing us some cash, guys. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with all cannabis legalization news. We will see you on Sunday.